Shalom. Call Halal, Yahawah, Sham, Yahawashi, Sham, Qadash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers, the 144,000, the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that do this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so. All right. And to the few Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone. All right, here in Chicago, coming at you another lesson in truth. And this is a video, I believe, this was sent to me about not quite a week ago, but I've been sitting on this one for probably about 4 or 5 days. I believe the brother Kazak Yahawadah sent it to me. And the brother's always keeping my plate full of information. That's for sure. Got quite a few people that send me stuff, but that's one of the main brothers who sends me. And this was right up my alley. Because this is a topic that I currently talk about, you know, Scotland, Ireland, and England. And last night, you know, when we were at the compound with the brothers, you know, we had a super camp. We had Wisconsin, Gary, Indianapolis, LA brothers. Yeah, 5 dignitaries from LA, beautiful brothers. You know, we were all out at the compound last night here in Chicago. That's the place is big enough to hold us all. And, you know, just breaking bread and, you know, being brotherly, having a good time. And when I walked in, one of the first rooms was playing the Last Kingdom, the story of Uchard of Bebenberg. And, you know, and then, of course, the history is completely and totally whitewashed. And when you speak the truth about it, you're the one that's being a racist. European history, and then you can't make this up, because I've been planning on doing this video today, and Apostle Tahar was live just a few minutes ago with the video basically saying that Christianity is white superiority, and it completely and totally is. You know, you got this European Hebrewism where they try to make, you know, the Edomites in different parts of Europe, the 12 tribes, all right, which does not match up to the Bible. And they don't acknowledge the fact that Ireland, Scotland, and England were ruled over, and the royal families, which the current royal family is connected to, married into a black family, all right. Queen Elizabeth married into her forefathers. Married Charlotte, and Charlotte was the so-called the Negro, the swarthy one, all right. Even though she was light complected, and she was of the last bloodline of King James, all right. And she was the one, just like in this movie, the Killers of the Flower Moons or something, what it's called, through Israelite women and, you know, stupid Israelite men. They love to put their enemy close to them. As a matter of fact, let me get that. Because what they do, they seek to take your place. And then when they do so, they you know, when they came into power, they rewrote history. Right? Because during the Dark Ages and during the medieval time, during the Dark Ages, the Edomite was a no people. They were dead, meaning they were a no people after the fall of Rome. You know, Europe and all. That's why they like to say they don't know what happened. All right, but they're very aware of what happened. Okay. But what's that in Sirach, I believe? Never trust that enemy. Let me find that real quick and read that, and then we're gonna get into this swarthiness, and and the reason why the word swarthy was replaced with black, because swarthy would have been too evident. All right. And it would go right in line with all the things that we're constantly saying. Nope, that's not it. I was trying to find that scripture real quick. Nope. Why is that Oh yeah, found it. The water Yahawashi and Rawchaa. This is Ecclesiastes. I was in 9. It's actually chapter 12. So it's the book of Sirach, chapter 12. And it reads 12 and 10. And it reads, never trust thy enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. All right. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, that thou should be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass. And thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away. All right. Set him not by thee, lest when he have overthrown thee and stand up in thy place, neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat, and thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. So, then it goes on to say next, might as well read the next verse. Who shall pity the charmer that is bitten with the serpent, or any such as come nigh a wild beast? So, look, you go playing with beasts, I was just watching a video with some Edomite dude, older guy, was, walking out. He got out the car. I guess they were at a safari or something, and was walking behind a lion. And the lion walked away as if didn't know he was there. Then it just turned around and charged him and grabbed him and drug him off into the bushes to feast on him, while his family was screaming. And you could hear his granddaughter, Grandpa, and everybody screaming. All right. And then when they tried to get out the car, the lion would run at them and they would jump back in the car. And that's the second time I've seen that happen. There was a video that surfaced on the internet some years ago where Edomite dude got devoured by a pride of lions. Doing the same thing, got out the car to take pictures, right? And one of the female lionesses circled behind him and knocked and jumped him from the back and basically launched him, threw him right into the pride, and they just began to feast on him. And then the Hamites, the Africans, came with garbage bags to collect up the pieces of him that was left to give to his family for burial. And you watch his whole family crying and screaming and watching in horror as these lions ate their father. So you can't pity someone if you're stupid enough to do something like that. So, and I say that because, like I said, before I came in here, I was watching that movie about the Gadites who were being murdered off by these Edomites, all right, for their land. All the family members just kept coming up dead, shot in the back, and then they stick a gun in the woman's hand and say she committed suicide. She got shot in the back. Mind you, not the chest. She got shot in the back while bending over her baby carriage. All right? And then they stuck a gun in her hand and said she committed suicide. So, but yet they were comfortable bringing these people around them. So there it is. But let's get into this history. All right? Because that was still angry about that. So I'm reading the definition of swarthy, which comes out of this book right here. Let me click to the book. On page 1003 on the and they want $178 for this book used, as old as it is. All right. So this is the Winston Simplified Dictionary. All right. This one I'm holding in my hand is the 1933. I also have a 1925. All right. But the word swarthy, it says dark black, of a dark or dusky color, dark skin. All right. Adjective, swarthy, swarthiness. And remember the Scots, the Scots were referred to as the swarthy hordes of Scotland. All right. I remember reading that. Okay. They were referred to as the swarthy hordes of Scotland. So they removed that word primarily from modern day dictionaries because they didn't want you to associate swarthiness with the Bible, with the people of the Bible, and with the people of the Lord. All right. And like I said, watching that Utrecht, the Last Kingdom, and then, the Outlaw King, all those movies, those were not white people. The Vikings were not white people. The Scots, the Irish, and the Brits were not so-called white people. Okay? This book right here that I'm holding in my hand, the Negro Question Part 4, let's pull it up on the screen. All right? it gives you the breakdown in the history of when, what's his name? I'm on page 37, 36 and 37. Let me read them real quick. The massacre of Rawchaa. All right, English, and this is Old English that I'm reading. See, here's the pages. All right, you can see what I'm reading. All right, and you can see the white people killing the black people, smashing their heads against a stone. The young children stabbing them with pikes. You know, they were impaling pregnant women. It was horror. They were doing this. Why? Because this is what those Irish looked like. And so the Cromwell brothers, Oliver Cromwell, and I forget the other brother. I think his name may have been James Cromwell. I'm not, I have to read it again. I know Oliver was one of them. These were the things that they were doing. So I'm going to read about it. It says, this is a scene of destruction of Drogheda, Ireland, by the English in 1641. They stripped the people naked and drove them into the mountain to freeze to death, but not before uttering strange statement about the English being wild men. All right, and we're going to talk about this wild man history. All right, it says, remember the Irish were black in 1600. Okay, so this is what they did, and that was payback for Rome. All right, the Renaissance had begun, and the whitewashing of history had begun. Okay. And so in Ireland, Scotland, they need to clear these areas out. Germany, you got to remember the letter that Benjamin Franklin wrote in 1751, referring to Germans, Russians, Swedes, Scots and Irish as swarthy. Okay, but it says the English impaled the Irish children and bashed their heads on the stone. That's scriptural. All right, that's why the scripture says when they get that payback, happy is he that dasheth thy little ones against a stone. Esau's going to get back everything that they did, double. It says these are eyewitness accounts. All right. I'm not even going to attempt to read this Old English. But, well, now I'm compelled. It said Force Hoyle rifled and to make the can't tell us that's a F or S. Where her money lay, trying to get her to confess. Okay, where her money lay, they took hot tongues, clapping them to the soles of their feet. Ooh, they took, oh boy, and to the palms of her hands, and tormented her, that with the pain thereof she died. So they took boiling hot, they put them hot things in the fire until they glow yellow, till they glow red, and then they clamped them onto her hands and feet to get her to tell where the gold was. Okay, man, this is pretty pathetic, man. They doing this to a woman. It says Irish History, Ireland Library, 1641 Rebellion. The editorial and the generation shows that they spoke and wrote differently, but you can discern the writing in modern English. It says they took hot tongues and tortured this woman to make her confess where the money was. Yeah. They burned the bottom of her feet and her palms of her hands. It is important that you remember that these crimes are being done to black Irishmen, their women, and their children. Going backwards in history, it was like digging into the walls and seeing what the people do in imagination of their minds. This is part of the history of Europe that the geneticist is missing. Well, they just refuse to tell you. That will cause his findings in our generation to make sense. Remember, the Irish were black in 1600. So here were the images of these are images in old books, in Old English, where they were burning her hands and feet, trying to get her to confess where the money was. All right. And like I said, you could see them dashing the little ones against the stone. The so-called white men, and impaling the children. All right. They did the same thing to Gad. I was like a Benjamite, the same thing. They did the same thing to Gad here in the Americas. So I'm just going to play a little bit of this video now of the swarthy names. I'm going to play about, a little less than 10 minutes of it. All right. Just so you can get a gist of the information that has been hidden from, that they would, and if you bring it out, they're going to call it critical race theory. No, this is critical race historical facts. All right. So don't complain about Clarence. All right. Because the book of Clarence was actually, it was a comedy and it was blasphemy of the scriptures, but it was aesthetically correct. It's concerning the Judeans, because these Scots, these Irish, and these English are the descendants of the Judeans, Jacobites.
Hello, and thank you for clicking on this video. The name of this video is Swarthy European Names. The reason I am creating this series of videos is to reveal the hidden truth behind the European history that we have not been given. This video will focus mainly on names common to Ireland, Scotland, and England. And just an FYI, these are just some of the names that I found. It is by no means a complete list. Also, this video will make more sense if you've seen my first video called Who Were the Original British, Scottish, and Irish? All the videos in the series that I'm making are meant to build off each other. So if you watch them in succession, they probably will make a little more sense to you. Okay, so now I'd like to talk about two very important words and the definitions for those words. The first word is swarthy, and the definition of the word is of a dark color, complexion, or cast. And that's from the Merriam-Webster Dictionary 1828. Second definition is of a skin color, complexion, etc., dark. And that's from dictionary.com. And lastly, of a person or their skin, dark, a swarthy face / complexion. And that's from the CambridgeDictionary.com. Okay, so the second word we have is complexion. And that definition is the hue or appearance of the skin, and especially the face, a dark complexion. That's from the Merriam-Webster Dictionary 1828. Listen, folks, I don't care how far you go back in history, these two words, swarthy and complexion, have not changed their definitions. So people that try to tell you that they mean something else, this is not true, and you need to go research for yourself and find a very old dictionary or dictionaries and check out the definitions. You'll find.
And let me just jump in there real quick, and then I'm just going to shut up and let them continue. It comes to mind that, like I said, the word black was replaced the word swarthy. And then they'll take black and give it different meanings. So, like, he was sad, or it was his mood, or it was his way of thinking, or he was evil. And try to make it as if it were not talking about his complexion, all right, or his hue of skin, all right. So when they'll say the scriptures that talk about, the Jews were blackened to the ground, my skin is black upon me, and things of that nature. Their visage was blacker than a coal, all right. They'll try to take those scriptures and misconstrue them and give you the off definitions of black when they could have just, if it was left to swarthy, then we'll be clear what the Lord, what the disciples, what the angels, what God looked like. So, and that's one of Esau's devices, the changing of the meaning of words, removing the definitions and things of that nature. All right. New speech. All right. New speech meaning, recreating a definition or creating a wording, or, and changing its definition, things of that nature, trying to hide the truth.
And that they are virtually the same. Okay, so let's get into this next section called Irish, Scottish, and English names. This is page 1. And these names all mean swarthy by being described as dark complexions, black complexions, and brown complexions.
Screenshot.
Okay, I have listed here the names, meanings, and origins. Some of these names are going to look familiar to you, and then some, of course, will not, if you're not from Ireland, Scotland, or England. Also, as I said in my first video, my pronunciation may be a little bit off, or a lot off, actually, so please don't hold that against me, but I'll do the best that I can. And also, I'm not going to read through all the names on the list. I'll go through some of them, mostly the ones that I can pronounce. So the first one there is Arthur, and the meaning is very black. The origin is Welsh or Brythonic language. So that immediately reminds me of King Arthur. And if the meaning is very black, that's something interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The second one there on the list is Bran, and the meaning of that is crow or raven. And we should all know that crows and ravens are very black in color. And the origin of that name Bran is Welsh. Okay, so I'm going to skip down to Brenna, which means little raven, and that has an Irish origin. Next we have Cormac, which means raven's son, and that is of Irish origin as well. Now let's skip down to Sierra, which means black or dark, and that's Irish or Gaelic in origin. Then we have Kerwin, which means dark-skinned, and that is Celtic in origin. And then we have, let's go down to Kerry, which means dark, little dark one, or dark princess.
Wow.
Wow. And that's Irish or Gaelic. Then we have the common name that we all know is Blake, which means black, and that's English in origin. Then we go down to Dubon, which means brown or dark, and that's Irish in origin. And then let's go up to the top of the second list, and we have Duff, which means dark, and that's Scottish in origin. Then we have Dougal, which means dark stranger, that's Scottish in origin. Then we have Dolan, which means dark in Irish, or Irish origin. Then we have Douglas, very common name, and that means dark. That's Gaelic in origin. And then let's go to Duncan, which means swarthy chief. And we all know that swarthy means dark.
Wow.
Dark complexion.
This
black,
is very powerful
brown,
and condemning
brown,
to white supremacy.
Then last on the list there is Kerry, which means dark, and that's Irish in origin. And Kerry is also a very common name. Didn't know it meant dark. And I don't think the parents of these folks are calling them dark in a bad way, like they're a bad person or
you see what I mean?
They have bad intentions or something like that.
Because they're dark and black, you know, those definitions you can misconstrue the meaning. But when it's related to swarthy, it was completely talking about black brown complexions. Point blank period. Dark complexion. It had nothing to do with the mood, their heart, their feelings, their hate, none of that. All right. So I would suggest that you go on to watch this video. All right. Once again, it's called Europeans with it's called let me go back to the beginning now. Can't remember the name now. Well, it was Europeans with black names. Yeah, that was actually the name of the video. All right. Yeah, that was the actual name of the video. Europeans with black names. All right. And speaking on that word swarthy. All right. So I would highly suggest that you go on and watch this and let me because it's very powerful and condemning information that can't be refuted. And the fact that they just tried to cover up and hide it, you know, well, that's evidence in itself. So I'm going to read Deuteronomy 33 and 29. All right. And it reads, Happy art thou, O Israel, who is like unto thee, O people saved by Yahawah, the shield of thy help, and who is thy sword, and who is the sword of thy excellency, and thy enemies shall be found liars unto thee, and thou shalt tread upon their high places. Treading upon Christianity and white superiority is a very high and powerful place, and we're treading on it with truth. We're walking right on it. We're spitting on it. We're pissing on it. So with that, we're going to give all praises, all honor, and glory unto Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash. Shalom.